Hello and welcome to the show. On the program tonight, history gets preserved. Wainwright takes its first steps to open an interpretive center for the region. And a call for artists. The Kiwanis Music Festival is looking for local performers. But first, to merge or not to merge? That is the question being proposed to Synergy Credit Union. Officials are saying yes, but some members are not so keen. We're going to debate the topic right now on Around the Region. Later in the show, hard work finally pays off. The Buffalo Park Foundation finds a new home. If you haven't heard the news and then the backlash yet, now's your chance to catch up. The credit union officials are proposing a merger of their Synergy, Connexus, and Innovation branches. The news has been received with mixed feelings, and here to represent those feelings tonight are the CEO of Lloydminster Synergy Credit Union, Les Mesmer, and the former CEO, John Vanek. Thank you so much for coming in, gentlemen.
You're welcome.
Let's start with you, Les. Why do you think it's a good idea to merge these credit unions?
Well, there's a couple of key points, I guess, that the boards of directors of our credit union as well as the other two credit unions feel that now's the time. And I guess the key things that our board has been focusing on is this really is about the future. There's no doubt that a lot of the points that have been made, and I'm sure John will speak to that today, about our organization being very sound both in the past and at present, that is absolutely correct. We have both the former management and current management and the board have tried very hard to have a very solid organization. But what we see as we look out into the future is things aren't quite so solid. We have very extensive market share in our area, and that as we move into the future, we do feel we'll be challenged to be able to offer all the good things that we've been able to offer our members in the past. So we just feel that there's an opportunity now as we began discussions with these other two credit unions that they're very interested in us joining them, understandably so because we're very solid. But we do feel that if we don't act now, that as we go into the future, things will be different and we won't have the degree of influence that we do now.
Okay, so John, Les is saying it's not so solid. The way that it's standing now, not so solid. You're saying it's not going to be so solid if we merge. Why do you say that?
Well, I don't think Les was saying that it's not solid. He's talking about the future, and like the credit union, Synergy Credit Union is a very strong credit union. It's much stronger than the other two credit unions that they're proposing to merge with. In fact, the Innovation Credit Union in Swift Current and North Battleford, they just merged in 2009, and that merger ran into serious problems. And they fired the CEO of North Battleford Credit Union. The CEO of Swift Current retired because the merger wasn't going good. So they didn't even pay an allocation to their members last year. And all their management people are listed as temporary. So they're not in a real solid position right now. They're not unsound financially, but they're all temporary people. And then Connexus has a new CEO as well, only took office September of 2009, and their ratios don't measure up to Synergy's, and we're the smaller player. So as soon as we merge with those two larger credit unions, our ratios are all going to get watered down, and the benefits that our members have been accustomed to receiving will not be. A lot of them are going to be reduced, and also there's a chance that service charges and interest margins and so on will have to increase dramatically, and it'll cost our members more because they'll bring us down to their level rather than them coming up to our level. And not for 1 minute am I suggesting Synergy isn't a strong credit union. I agree with Les fully, but I just feel this is not the right time for Synergy, and maybe the right time for the other two credit unions, but we're the small player and we have far more to lose going into this merger than what the other two.
Now, I know that you've done a lot of research on other mergers that have been going on in our region. This certainly isn't the first, but I'm sure that you guys looked at that as well. So how do you think that those other mergers went, and you know, what are your concerns going in?
Well, I guess the most recent merger, very significant in size, that went on that affects our region is Service Credit Union.
Yep.
And we know that some of the things that went on to do with that merger didn't go that smoothly. We hear about it. Of course, we have a lot of employees, even have employees that have spouses that work at Service Credit Union. So what we arranged to do is to meet with them several times at both the board and management level to understand what they'd do different if they had it to do over again. And we've tried to take those learnings and build them into the business case for this merger. So the context around that is certainly there's been other mergers. Some of them go better than others, and the one most recent in our region, like I say, some things went fairly well.
Right.
Others didn't go so well, so we're trying to learn from those things as we built up the business case for this merger.
Now, Les claims that mergers are the way of the future, right? And people need to be able to bank on a national level or sometimes even a global level. What do you say to that? I mean, that seems like a pretty reasonable claim.
Well, I want to go back to the merger of service, because I did just check today. I finally was able to get information. It took about 4 calls to get through their call center to get to someone that understood how this $43 million that they're talking about they've just allocated. And the allocation rates are only 0.4% up to 0.55%. So again, those ratios are much, much less than what Synergy allocated last year. Now, we don't know what Synergy's rates allocation rates will be for this year, but that's just one point. The numbers sound larger when you get into a larger credit union. Right. The numbers sound very large, but when you cut it down and say, what does it mean to the average member on the street? The numbers aren't quite as significant. So that's one point I want to make. The other thing is about going forward. I just forget, what was the point of your question again?
He says it's the way of the future.
Oh,
right?
the way of the future.
The future. People
right.
need to be able to bank on more of a national level, and this is sort of a more local way
and
of
my
banking.
point there is that I think we would have been wiser to consider affiliation rather than a merger, because really the credit union should be affiliating. We have enough technology now that they should be able to affiliate through automated teller networks and electronic systems, and if the credit unions could learn to cooperate rather than having to go through a massive merger, I think we'd all be better off for it, rather than putting them all under one big umbrella. That, to me, big doesn't necessarily impress me.
All right, well, we're going to talk about more of the pros and cons of the credit union merger just on the other side of this break.